Continuing from the previous episode 1890. Xiao Yan? Looking at the two figures approaching, President Su couldn't help but have a hint of doubt on his face. He looked at Xu Xiao in the black robe in front of him. It seemed that the two had just met. An extraordinarily strong smell of gunpowder came to pave the way. That kind of breath seems to contain the revenge of killing the father. The aura on your body still seems to be so disgusting. At this moment, the black-robed Xu Xiao slowly got up and said in a playful tone, obviously seeing Xiao Yan's true identity at first sight. The aura on your body is still as weak as ever, but I'm a little surprised that the minions of your soul palace can actually extend here. It's really bold, Xiao Yan said coldly, and his voice was also full of chills. Meaning, Xu Xiao is a person from the soul palace. He is born with the sinister aura of the soul palace. Even if Xiao Yan doesn't feel it, he can smell it from a distance of 108,000 miles. The breath is also quite familiar. After all, Xiao Yan was often on the most wanted list of their soul palace. What happened to the Star Continent? Are you the one who did it? His eyes froze, Xu Xiao stood up immediately, and an invisible oppression permeated. The Star Continent cost them a Hall Master, but it was a huge loss. It's really a pity. Hall Master Huang Hall of Soul Palace. Xiao Yan didn't respond, but opened his mouth, but the meaning in his voice was too obvious. It doesn't matter. Shrimps like you will turn into dust when you turn your hands, but I have to thank you, otherwise, I will not be able to take the position of the head of the Yellow Hall. See you in 3 days, then I'll make you unable to survive or die. Those things on your body will stay by your side for a while longer. Leaving a gloomy and ruthless remark, Xu Xiao's figure also left here like a ghost. Quote. After the blink of an eye, the anger in the lobby eased a little. Master Xiao Yan knows this guy? At this time, the Wolf General asked suspiciously. It's an old rival, because the two of us are a feud. Xiao Yan shook his head and said, as for what Xiao Yan and the two talked about just now, although President Su and Lang Zhang were suspicious, they did not know about the Star Continent and the Soul Palace. These words were kept in the dark for a while, and they were confused for a while, but now it is naturally easy to be put off by Xiao Yan. This Xu Xiao seems to be a little scary. The strength of the 8-star Do Xian in the early stage may be able to walk sideways on the entire Douyin continent. It seems that after the demon world is dealt with, we must go to find Zuner as soon as possible, otherwise Zuner will it's dangerous. Xiao Yan secretly made up his mind to pay attention, and immediately muttered. He, Lord Yaoshe Xiao Yan is really talented and intelligent, and seeing it is better than seeing it. After a while, President Su's piercing eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he immediately looked at Xiao Yan, not knowing why, when looking at Xiao Yan, a more terrifying aura than Xu Xiao filled out. It's just a fluke. Xiao Yan naturally knew what this guy meant, and immediately said modestly. President Su, take out the evil crystal demon block that Xu Xiao needs. I also need this thing. Xiao Yan opened his mouth. Obviously something that could be targeted by Xu Xiao was not an easy thing. Hey, Master Yaoshe, please allow me to sell it. This thing is quite expensive, and only the head of the Yaoshe can call it. So please forgive me, President Su said apologetically. Where is President Su? But what if I need something else? Xiao Yan did not pretend to be tough and continued to ask, but changed the subject. I don't know what your lord needs. Seeing Xiao Yan being so easy to talk for a while, President Su also laughed, otherwise the tyrannical attitude like Xu Xiao's would make it difficult for him to do it. As a fire attribute, I want to borrow the fire attribute fighting skills in the auction house, but I don't know if it's feasible. With the mentality of not slaughtering white, Xiao Yan's voice became deeper. What level of fighting skills do you need? President Su asked with a frown. At the peak of the holy rank, of course it is better to have immortal techniques. When Xiao Yan heard the words, the corners of his mouth laughed. Is it the peak of the holy rank of the fire attribute, sir? Wait a moment. President Su muttered a few words, and his body slowly retreated, obviously going to search for fighting skills. The background of the 10,000 demon nation, coupled with the support of the national treasury, still has a lot of fighting skills at the peak of the holy rank, and Xiao Yan is now expensive as the demon commander, so naturally he has the qualifications to call and consult. Sir, I have something to remind you. No one was around. The Wolf General looked around repeatedly and whispered to Xiao Yan. But it doesn't matter. Xiao Yan said with some surprise. Obviously he couldn't see the thoughts of this wolf general, and there was a hint of delicacy in the roughness. There is no right or wrong in the demon world. Everything depends on strength. If you win, Shu Xiao's life and death will naturally be determined by you, but if you know the consequences, the wolf will say slowly. I know, so they are all old rivals, and I will naturally handle them here. Xiao Yan smiled lightly, the cold killing intent in his voice was undoubtedly on display. A Shu Xiao at the early stage of the 8-star fighting immortals, Xiao Yan has not yet regarded him as a major enemy. Xiao Yan wants to arrest this guy, so as to force him to ask some news about the Soul Palace, and he is probably the new hall master of the Yellow Hall today. The information is more meticulous. In the initial stage of 8-star fighting immortals, Hall Master Huang Tang, whether in terms of strength or status, is extremely high in the Soul Palace, and after the end of the demon world, it will be the real highlight, the 100-year appointment and sooner, so Xiao Yan must make plans early. My lord, this is what you need, the holy rank peak fighting skills, the raging fire lion. I wish you a successful victory. By the way, there is a word to remind Sir Xiao Yan that Shu Xiao took a space-based fighting skill of the peak of the holy rank from me, and the rest cannot be disclosed. After President Su finished speaking, on the palm of his hand, a beautiful the sheepskin scroll stands quietly out. The exquisite sheepskin scroll seems to contain a trace of terrifying temperature, fire attribute fighting skills, and fighting skills at the peak of the holy order. Thank you too again. Xiao Yan held the scroll in his palm with one hand, and immediately responded to the two with a smile. Let's go. There are still 3 days. 3 days. Will this guy still write any legends? Wolf General and President Su looked at the passing figure of Xiao Yan and looked at each other. I don't know what's going on. I always feel that this guy doesn't seem to be so simple. Wait and see. President Su spoke slowly and smiled. At the same time, for 3 days, Shu Xiao also stayed behind closed doors. He seemed to be studying the space-based fighting skills. As for Xiao Yan, he also stayed behind closed doors. With Holy Flame and his familiarity with fire attributes, he used the fighting skills. Cultivating it will make its strength more solid. Of course, a real battle will sound slowly. It's just that the battle situation is now anxious, and the 10,000 Demon King is slowly disappearing. It seems that he is going to track down something, and the thing he is tracking is actually related to the foreign evil race and the demon suppression prison in the ancient battlefield. Continuing from the previous episode 1891. The next day, 3 days later, the battle came slowly. Hey, the battle between Yaoshe Shu Xiao at the early stage of the 8-star fighting immortal stage and Yaoshe Xiao Yan at the early stage of the 7-star fighting immortal stage is really exciting. At this time, countless monsters were surrounding the battlefield. Their eyes are extremely hot, and they are obviously looking forward to the battle between the two. Shu Xiao, who had already arrived at this time, stood slightly in a dark area, looking around indifferently. On the other hand, the other horned demon elders and the wolf generals also arrived slowly. Why hasn't Master Xiao Yan arrived yet? After a glance, the wolf general asked worriedly. Could it be that the practice of fighting skills wasted time? But this level of battle, even I can't delay it. At this time, the old horned demon looked at Shu Xiao beside him and couldn't help muttering. Old horned demon, is it time to announce the start? After the blink of an eye, Shu Xiao faced Sen Ran's indifferent voice, and there was a contempt in his voice. Although the strength of the horned demon is not strong, but his intelligence is quite high among the monsters, so he can be regarded as an elder in the country of 10,000 monsters. It's almost time, don't worry. The horned demon said coldly. Quote. After a while, there was still no movement. It's time to start, Shu Xiao said viciously just after the time arrived. I announce. The horned old man also frowned and opened his mouth slightly. Sorry, I'm a step late, aren't you late? Just as the horned old man's voice sounded, the surrounding void trembled, and a faint spatial vortex filled out, and Xiao Yan's figure spread out. Master Xiao Yan? In an instant, with Xiao Yan's appearance, the atmosphere of the entire martial arts field became restless. This guy's aura seems to be a lot more tyrannical than it was 3 days ago. In the dark, Tianyuan Yaoshe slowly took a step forward, looked at Xiao Yan in front of him, and muttered. After he really fought against Xiao Yan, he knew the heart-pounding, terrifying power hidden in Xiao Yan's body. Since it's here, let's start. the old man with horns said in awe, and the battle between the two slowly opened. Crash! With a sound, Xiaoyan and Xu Xiao disappeared into the mountain range at the same time. The battle mountain range this time is very different from the past, because this time it is actually an active and surging volcanic area. The terrifying temperature and the volcano that can erupt at any time can be said to have contributed to Xiaoyan's power. I didn't expect you to come to die in such a hurry. If that's the case, then I will accept all the things on your body rudely. Xu Xiao said coldly just after entering the volcanic mountain range, with a slight smile on the corner of his mouth, like a cold, the murderous demon. That kind of breath can't help but make one's heart chill. Your soul palace is really interesting. The person who said this before has been completely destroyed in my hands. If you want to take away these things from me, you don't have the ability to take pictures of you. Xiaoyan smiled lightly, and his smile was full of calmness. In that case, empty hands. Seeing Xiaoyan's unrestrained smile, Xu Xiao snorted coldly, striding out into the void under the black robe, and immediately turned into a gloomy silver light all over his body. Shooting away with Xiaoyan. With Xu Xiao's terrifying attack, the void above the entire volcanic mountain range exploded slightly, and even a trace of cracks brewed out from the void that his body crossed. The beast blasted away at Xiaoyan. Hoo! Dragon God transformation. Seeing Xu Xiao's terrifying attack, Xiaoyan snorted coldly, dragon scales covered his arm, and immediately driven by Xiaoyan, the tortoise-shaped pattern of tyrants burst out brightly. Ancient Xian power. Suffered to death. In an instant, Xu Xiao's attack came to Xiaoyan's body, his palm was gently raised, and a silver space-destroying force swept over. Come on! Seeing this, Xiaoyan raised the corners of his mouth, his eyes became sharp, and the dim light on his arm shone brightly. After a while, he collapsed forward, with a dazzling power on his arm, and blasted directly at Xu Xiao. Kacha! A deafening cracking sound continued to sound, and then a space crack, centered on the two, spread out thousands of meters behind them like a spiderweb. At the same time, the volcano below was also full of with an extreme depression. It seems that it will erupt completely at any time. Even because the two used such tyrannical means, countless spaces in the entire volcanic mountain range exploded directly, and a trace of extremely nervous anger was vented. Boom! The shadowy figure and the silver figure seemed to have no idea what was going on in the volcanic mountain range at this time. One after another, fierce collisions continued to unfold. For a while, the close hand-to-hand combat between the two was actually indistinguishable. These two guys. Outside the arena, Tianyuan couldn't help muttering when he saw Xiaoyan's ruthless shots and Xu Xiao's extremely tricky shots. Because in the volcanic mountain range at this time, the two figures moved rapidly. Every time they moved, the space or mountain range was a mess. Countless trees and rocks were affected by the aftermath of the battle, and they turned into powder and disappeared. It turned out to be evenly matched. What a terrifying guy. The old horned demon looked at Xiaoyan's figure, and the horror in his heart could not stop for a long time. In the early stage of the 7-star fighting immortals, it is possible to fight head-on with the powerhouses in the early stage of the 8-star fighting immortals. This kind of courage can be said to be respectable. Boy, it seems that you do have some background. Right above the volcanic cliff, the two figures slowly separated, and the power of silver space flickered around Xu Xiao. He squinted at Xiaoyan in front of him with black eyes, and said with a smile, he could not think Xiaoyan's initial strength of Qixing Do Xian was vaguely comparable to his own. It was no wonder that many of the powerhouses sent by the Soul Palace were submerged in this guy's hands. The new Hall Master Wangtang. Xiaoyan didn't care about it. The blood in the body instantly became boiling, and it was extremely difficult to fight against the powerhouses in the early stage of the 7-star Do Xian with the strength of the early stage of the 7-star Do Xian. But it also made all the accumulated power in Xiaoyan's body to become blood-boiling. In this way, regardless of success or failure in this battle, Xiaoyan's sequelae due to the short-term increase in strength will be completely eliminated. After entering the ancient battlefield, maybe he can also be able to. There is an opportunity. Forget it. You are worthy of this Hall Master's full strength. Do your best. Just let you ants see. What is the real Soul Palace superior? Get ready for death. Su. At this time, Xu Xiao's black robe shook, and countless gloomy black chi spread out like ghost chi. thus wrapping the entire volcanic mountain range, rendering this place a true gloomy melting pot. The sight of everyone outside was also covered by this sudden scene. For a time, the volcanic mountain range was completely covered by Xu Xiao's domain, and a solemn aura of death slowly drifted into this gloomy furnace. Continuing from the previous episode 1892. Come on. Seeing Xu Xiao who looked so terrifying, Xiao Yan also sneered. The entire volcanic mountain range was filled with countless gloomy ghosts because of Xu Xiao's domain, and the outside world could not see the situation inside at all. In this way, even if Xiao Yan used the power of holy flame, it was reasonable. This is the domain of this hall master, called the Thousand Soul Domain. Enjoy it. In an instant, Xu Xiao's black robe suddenly disappeared and turned into countless dark blue light groups, which completely permeated the entire domain. Among those dark blue energy light groups, there are all ghosts and grievances, and the mournful and eerie aura emitted from the invisible, rendering the entire field into a cold place filled with ghosts. Is it a lonely ghost again? As expected of a ghost hall. But, while speaking, the aura on Xiao Yan's body slowly changed. An amber flame slowly spread from Xiao Yan's body like a tattoo, and then gently covered Xiao Yan's body. Yan's breath was like a scorching sun, and many ghosts in the domain looked at Xiao Yan vigilantly. It really is the smell of holy flame. However, this amber holy flame seems to have never been recorded. What is going on? Xu Xiao's eyes suddenly became hot, and there was a strange fluctuation in his cold eyes. Holy flame fire. After the blink of an eye, Xiao Yan's high-pitched voice sounded in the field. With the addition of Dou Qi and the power of the holy flame, Xiao Yan's body could not stand the giant figure. Even following such a move, the soul clone that had been silent for a long time in Xiao's body also moved. Get off me, Thousand Soul Eater. Seeing Xiao Yan's appearance, Xu Xiao sneered, his palm slowly raised, and a mass of extremely dark black energy suddenly projected towards Xiao Yan. Wang buzzing. At the same time, countless ghosts in the domain seemed to have been pulled, and they followed behind the black air mass and scurried away towards Xiao Yan. That kind of scene, as if locked by countless pairs of gloomy ghost eyes, a chill filled Xiao Yan's heart. Bloom. Xiao Yan smiled slowly at this, and his eyes immediately turned amber. The amber flames on his body were like ferocious monsters in a violent state, forming rows of amber walls to resist them. Boom! The gloomy black energy seemed to be the leader of countless ghosts. When it suddenly hit Xiao Yan's amber wall, a shrill rubbing sound filled the air. Boy, die! Seeing Xiao Yan taking so much time to resist his blow, Xu Xiao's figure wriggled like a ghost. On his withered palm, a mass of silver space power slowly unfolded. The law of space, strangling. Without any pause, Xu Xiao's palm suddenly lifted, and a dazzling silver space force directly shot out and slapped Xiao Yan, who was close at hand. Peefed. With a sound, Xu Xiao's attack directly hit Xiao Yan, but strangely it did not cause any damage. On the contrary, the skin and expression on Xiao Yan's body suddenly became strange. Zi-la-la. Just when Xu Xiao was puzzled, Xiao Yan was surrounded by thunder and flames, like an eternal copper and iron giant. The ancient ruler above his arm exuded a strange luster. As for the countless ghosts in the power of space slowly disappeared when it touched the body. Bang bang bang. After the breath, an unusually harsh explosion sounded in the distant domain. That is the power of his own space strangulation. But isn't its target Xiao Yan? How could the target be shifted? In the early stage of Xiao Yan's 7 stars fighting immortals, even if he is talented, it is absolutely impossible to change his goal of space power. A big gift for you. Ho 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 ho. Xu Xiao stood hesitantly above the void, and he never understood what was going on. Suddenly, the void was squirming not far away, and Xiao Yan, who was exactly the same as Xiao Yan in front of him, appeared. It's just that a stream of amber-colored lava flowed out from Xiao Yan's body, and at his feet, there was a huge and fierce fire lion. The lion's eyes only locked on himself. That kind of feeling, as if he was locked, and he was the food at his fingertips. Even with the blessing of holy flame, the fighting power of this fire lion should definitely not be underestimated. Boom! The fire lion roared. It raised its front paws proudly. The countless amber faces flashed with unusually sacred and terrifying power, and immediately waved towards Xu Xiao. Peefed. With a sound, a beam of amber light beams stretched out from the front paws of the fire lion like a ray of dawn, directly piercing the void and whistling away. Small worm carving trick. Shu Xiao sneered, and suddenly the ghosts in the realm surged rapidly, forming a thick soul wall directly in front of him. Crash! When the amber beam hit the wall of souls, a ferocious cry was released. Obviously, in the face of the attack based on the fire of holy flame, these ghosts attacked and shattered in an instant. Shu Xiao, you are extremely sinful, and you should subdue the law. And following Xiao Yan's attack, an unusually cold voice filled the air. That was the voice of the horned old man and others. Is it still discovered? Shu Xiao shook his head slightly, although he did it very secretly, but he left a lot of evidence in his mansion. Shu Xiao, accept the sanctions. Xiao Yan looked at Shu Xiao and spoke slowly, with amber holy flames shining all over his body, fire lions and tigers staring at him, and the earth-shattering fighting intent was vented. It's really tricky, but try this. Space prism. Lock it for me. Seeing Xiao Yan's ferocious means, Shu Xiao finally had nothing to hide. The initial strength of the 8-star Do Xian was revealed, and he immediately became crazy with an overwhelming momentum. Not good. Xiao Yan was shocked, looking at the fleeting silver beam. His figures retreated one after another. Ho ho ho! Seeing this, the fire lion felt that Xiao Yan was in danger, and the amber flames all over his body became restless. Pimple. Xiao Yan used the fire lion to control the fire lion, but he forgot about Shu Xiao's attack. He was lightly hit by it, his body shrank violently like an electric shock, and he immediately froze in the field. Get away from me. On the other side, Xiao Lei, the sole avatar of the Thunder Fire Hell King, saw this. He instinctively waved the ancient ruler in his hand, attacking Shu Xiao. Hateful. I'll spare your life this time. Next time this hallmaster must torture you to death. See you on the ancient battlefield. A gloomy voice sounded in the realm, and Shu Xiao's figure shook abruptly, turning into a black mist, streaking into the void of the realm in front of him, and disappearing. This Xiao Yan was caught in his own space prism, and I am afraid that he will be trapped in a different dimension forever. This time, he still won. Crack! With a sound, Shu Xiao just disappeared, and the old man with horns directly broke open the field and entered it from the outside world. Shu Xiao colluded with the rebellion. The evidence is conclusive. What's going on? A few people had just broken through the domain and looked at the two Xiao Yan and countless ghosts slowly disappearing, deeply shocked. Continuing from the previous episode 1893. What the asterisk is going on here? The horned demon, the wolf general, and a few burly seniors walked in slowly, watching Xiao Yan, who was motionless in the slowly dissipating state, and Xiao, who was added by the Thunder and Fire Hell King. Ray couldn't help asking. I am his sole avatar. Find him a quiet training room. He has entered a special state and can only heal himself. Xiao Lei shook his head slightly, and then with a flash, he also returned to Xiao Yan's body. Although he is a sole avatar, only the main body can resist this kind of thing. If Xiao Yan can't resist, I am afraid that his existence will also die out with time. Sir. About Shu Xiao. At this time, several other high-level executives couldn't help muttering. Now Xiao Yan is the leader of the newly promoted demon commander. I will send him back first and find a quiet training room for him. As for Shu Xiao, he secretly communicated with the other two powerhouses and tried to harm the army of our 10,000 demon nation. The next time I see you, I will definitely cut him into tens of thousands of pieces. In addition, thoroughly investigate all the officials and generals in the army, and wait for the Demon King and Xiao Yan to wake up. It's time to enter the ancient battlefield. Orders emerged from the old horned demon's mouth in an orderly manner. Okay. Many monsters nodded. On the other side, everyone sent Xiao Yan to a quiet training room. After sending people to guard them, they were busy with their own affairs. The old horned demon didn't know Xiao Yan's current state, so he could only wait for the return of the Demon King. In the quiet training room, the scent of agarwood filled the secret room, but at this time Xiao Yan was standing there like a living dead, without any anger. Wang buzzing. At this time, Xiao Yan seemed to be in a coma, and seemed to have been deprived of something, and all of this was obviously the last moment of the previous battle with Shu Xiao, when Shu Xiao left. At the same time, Xiao Yan was given a rather strange blow, and the attack contained a touch of extremely strange power. That kind of attack was not fatal, but it made Xiao Yan's soul power enter a rather strange state, as if it had separated from himself and entered other places. It seems that Xiao Yan's soul and body are now separated by Xu Xiao's attack. At this time, the body is still here, but the soul is imprisoned in a distant alien space. Where is this? What happened? Just now I was still fighting against Xu Xiao in the demon world. How could it be? Xiao Yan's illusory soul body moved slowly, but the void was endless, and a trace of danger permeated, making Xiao Yan extremely uncomfortable. Quote. This place seemed to be a long corridor. Let Xiao Yan mutter how, after resting, the voice returned quickly. Other than that, nothing responded to Xiao Yan. No, we have to break open here. Suddenly, after hesitating for a moment, Xiao Yan, his soul body, seemed to have discovered something, and with a hurried sound, the soul power in his body suddenly surged. Xiao Yan also entered this extremely strange different dimensional space when he was devouring the devil fruit, but at that time he had someone else's guidance, but now. Boom! With a sound, the invisible soul body exploded directly in the void, and immediately a broken feeling swept out of the entire void. CC. After a while, the dark void suddenly changed slightly, and the void in the darkness slowly turned into a prismatic mirror with different shapes. The mirror is white and flawless. It seems to be ordinary, but it is this extremely flat atmosphere that makes Xiao Yan feel a chill in his heart. If he can't find a way to solve it, I am afraid that Xiao Yan will be imprisoned here forever. This is... Xiao Yan was unmoved, but his body lightly turned towards the prism in front of him, as if he had found clues. Brother Xiao Yan, Zuner lived a hard life in the ancient clan. I can't hold on anymore. In the prism, a woman who is enough to make all things pale, she now stands on a mountain peak of the ancient people, with tears in her eyes. Her appearance is very moving, and her voice is so beautiful. There was a resolute voice in it. Zuner, wait a minute, At this moment, Xiao Yan's voice suddenly became a little wet and hoarse. This beautiful figure in the prism could be said to be someone who was thinking about him at night. Xiao Yan, hurry up. After a while, another prism was approaching Xiao Yan. In the prism, the enchanting body of Kalen stood in front of Xiao Yan in the mirror. In front of the two of them were several evil spirits. A dark shadow surrounded by air. The power in them is not necessary for non-territorial evil races, and that kind of situation is probably extremely dangerous. Kai Lin. Seeing the second prism approaching, Xiao Yan's voice became hoarse. Xiao Yan, you have to live. After a while, the third prism floated to Xiao Yan's side. At this time, a blue-haired figure stood in the prism, and it was light and pleasant. Her voice came out, but her beautiful eyes were filled with a look of arrogance as if she were at home. She stood on the 100-jong city wall. After speaking, her body turned into a blue ethereal bird, facing the evil abyss beyond the city wall. Down. That kind of scene is like jumping into *** alone. Ying. At this moment, Xiao Yan's mouth and nose were sore, and he couldn't help his pupils blushing. Xiao Yan. The fourth prism also slowly approached. Enough. Before the fourth prism screen appeared, Xiao Yan snorted coldly and roared abruptly. At that time, countless prisms shook slowly. Wang Om. At this moment, above Xiao Yan's outer body, the dim Emperor Yan ring flashed out, a trace of red light surrounding Xiao Yan's body. And that trace of red light, like a rather faint Xiao character, is extremely strange and mysterious. This is... A few minutes later, in the endless prism space, a red door of light emerged gently. Xiao Yan looked at the door of light and couldn't help but muttered. Come back. Just when Xiao Yan was puzzled, an old voice resounded slowly like a sleeping giant dragon awakening. This voice is by no means the Golden Dragon King, nor is it the powerhouse Xiao Yan knew in the past, but it gave Xiao Yan a special kindness. Want to run? CC. When the door of light and the voice appeared, a sinister and gloomy voice resounded throughout the space, and countless prisms turned into countless wandering ghosts, slaughtering Xiao Yan. Peefed. With a sound, Xiao Yan did not hesitate, and turned around and stepped into the gate of light. Oh! Damn Xiao clan monsters, what treasures actually left Xiao Yan? Wait, the guardian of the Xiao family will be found in a short time, and then... Xu Xiao's gloomy voice slowly fell in the different dimension. In the demon world, hoo. In the training room, Xiao Yan's soul body had just returned, and he gasped for breath, not noticing the energy released by the Emperor Yanji in front of him. This is... After breathing for a while, Xiao Yan's state slowly improved. He knew that if it wasn't for the power of Emperor Yanjia just now, he might have been left in that other dimension forever. Obviously, this so-called Soul Hall's new Hall Master Huang Tang is much more tyrannical than the previous Soul Wuji, both in terms of strength and scheming. Even the cultivation of its spatial attributes has probably reached a whole new level. After a while, in Xiao Yan's body, Emperor Yanjia lay quietly, but at this time, Emperor Yanjia was slowly absorbing the power in Xiao Yan's body. That kind of slight absorption, even Xiao Yan couldn't detect, seemed to have reached the level of strength. After the 7 stars fighting immortals, the resonance of the Emperor Flame Ring became more obvious. Shu Xiao, see you next time, all this will be given back to you. Xiao Yan said softly, endless killing intent, sweeping away. Continuing from the previous episode 1894. It has been a month since the summoning of the monster army, and tomorrow is the best time to set off and enter the ancient battlefield. For a time, the entire myriad monster nation is filled with silence. Dong dong dong. At this time, a soft knock on the door rang out in Xiao Yan's mansion. Come in. Xiao Yan had just withdrawn from the cultivation state and wondered, but through his huge soul power, he could clearly detect that there were several figures outside the house. Respected Master Yaoshe, we are ordered by the Demon King to bring you some things. The visitor was a slender woman who was as attractive as a stunner. The stone boxes stand behind it. What is this? Although Xiao Yan was surprised, he pretended to be calm on the surface. With such means as the Demon King, Xiao Yan naturally knew that something important might happen next, but to receive some remuneration, Xiao Yan would also be willing to do things for the Demon King. Only the guards can find the trace of the Heisha dragon wolf. However, Xiao Yan's journey to the demon world after finding the black evil dragon and wolf was only on the right track, otherwise it would still be a waste of time. This is the evil crystal demon block you needed before, Lord. With it, you can be protected from the attacks of some extraterritorial evil races or ignore them. This is a 6th grade immortal rank medicinal pill, a bad breaking pill. After taking it, it can maintain the 8-star fighting immortal strength of a stick of incense. And a protective armor of immortal armor can greatly increase your defense strength. The enchanting woman said softly, and suddenly 3 stone boxes were slowly placed at the door of the house, and she laughed softly. 6th grade immortal rank elixir? Defense level immortal armor? Xiao Yan was shocked when he heard this. The alchemist in the demon world, I am afraid that the entire demon world is only 3 digits, and the medicinal pill is the most precious thing in the demon world, the 6th rank immortal rank. Not to mention the effect of this medicinal herb. Just this level the elixir is enough to show that the Wan Yaowing holds Xiao Yan very seriously. Demon King, let us tell you that we will set off tomorrow to enter the ancient battlefield. I hope Lord Yaoshe Xiao Yan can lead by example. My subordinates retire. After the guards finished speaking, they also left here with everyone, but at the same time, Tianyu Yaoshe was exactly the same as Xiao Yan. But what Tianyu Yaoshe got was obviously not as good as Xiao Yan's. Tisk tisk. It's really a big hand. I want to see what medicine is sold in the 10,000 Demon King's gourd. Xiao Yan finished speaking, slowly put away the things, and carefully adjusted his breath. With the defense of this fairy armor, I am afraid that the powerhouses under the 8 stars will not be able to cause fatal damage to Xiao Yan. With this medicinal herb, I am afraid that this battle on the battlefield, Xiao Yan will really emerge many killers. The night slowly faded away, and soon the sun rose, and a new day began. Da da da! As soon as dawn arrived, an unusually harsh howl suddenly sounded like an army order, rendering the entire city. Immediately, the entire 10,000 monster nation began to get busy, and the monsters in uniforms left their tents in an orderly manner, and then gathered towards the army. The same as Wan Yao Square. It's just that this time, it's not the crowd of people watching, but every monster's face, with a hint of seriousness of the same enemy. Their eyes are full of energy, and in an instant they are a neat formation. At the front of each square, the captains of the monsters stand beside them. There are hundreds of squads like this, and the gathering here are 50,000 elite monsters. The 50,000 monsters have the lowest strength of Do Xian, and the strongest ones are basically around the 6-star level, while the 7-star Do Xian has a total of more than 20 people, standing in the strongest square of the square team. At the forefront of these magnificent teams, a figure above the heavens and the earth, accompanied by several powerful guys, stood side by side. Demon King. The three elders are handsome. The new two monster handsome. As for the other veteran demon generals and newcomer demon generals, they slowly mixed into the demon beast squad to maintain order. Everyone, looking at the huge army with fierce eyes in front of him, the voice of the 10,000 Demon King was filled with an extremely tyrannical oppression, like the sound of thunder, resounding throughout the 10,000 demons square. The King of 10,000 Demons. As the King of 10,000 Demons spoke, the mighty voice behind him, like a thunderous sound, sounded slowly. I, the Demon King of 10,000 Demons, is a subordinate who swears allegiance to Lord Heisha Longling. Now Lord Heisha Longling is nowhere to be seen, and his personal guards are in danger in order to resist the other 9 powerhouses. It is us, the peaceful land behind us, the homeland behind us that we are lazy to survive, and the brothers and sisters in our respective families. At that time, I am afraid that our Wan Yao kingdom will also face the situation of being bloodbathed by other forces. Everyone said, "Where should we go now?" The voice of the 10,000 Demon King reached the ears of every monster, deeply touching the last line of defense in their hearts. War, war, battle. After a short pause, in the 10,000 Demon Square, countless demonic energy of each color spread out from the bodies of 50,000 demonic beasts, and the demonic energy surged into the sky, like a real doomsday furnace. Okay, this king will accompany you to fight personally this time. The pattern of the demon world is up to us to rewrite. Even if you fight the last soldier, it is absolutely impossible to surrender. We are the most loyal subordinates and subjects of Lord Demon Emperor. Invincible in battle and invincible in attack. Every word and every sentence of the Wan Yaowing touched the hearts of 50,000 monsters. Now that the military spirit is high, it is the best time to enter the ancient battlefield. The soldiers of the 3 armies obey the order. In an instant, the Wan Yaowing suddenly transformed, and his voice became extremely cold, like a life and death judge. The King of 10,000 Demons. The 3 soldiers roared at the same time, the momentum was huge, and the scene was heart-pounding. Xiaoyan Yaoshe, Tianyu Yaoshe, come out and obey orders. Wan Yaowing said coldly, my subordinates are here. Xiaoyan and Tianyu looked at each other, then walked away from the front of the formation, clasped their fists and faced the King of 10,000 Demons. I will give you 2,000 elites, 10 7-star fighting immortals, enter the Tianyuan battlefield among the 10 major battlefields, go deep behind the enemy to attack the army of the evil-eyed Demon King. Do not seek to dominate the enemy, but must delay their travel time, for the sake of let's save the guards to buy time. Is there any problem with you reading link to www.youcanshu.com? The Demon King said coldly, do you contain the enemy? But with these elites, my subordinates may try to solve them. Xiaoyan laughed slowly, the arrogance in his voice was hard to contain. Xiaoyan Yaoshe, the army is very disciplined, no jokes can be tolerated. At this time, Snake Shuai, one of the 3 elders, gave a friendly reminder, but in his heart he was secretly amazed at the cleverness of the Wan Yaowang's trick. I know, so what I'm talking about now is something that must be accomplished. Xiaoyan responded in the same way, looking directly at the Demon King of 10,000 Demons, as if showing his own heritage. If it fails? Wan Yaowing asked. I, Xiaoyan, are willing to issue a military order. If I fail, I will die here. Xiaoyan's voice resounded in everyone's hearts like a thunder. Okay. Wan Yaowing hit it off and laughed wildly. Xiaoyan is a handsome monster. Many of the monster troops who were dispatched to follow Xiaoyan from the rear looked at Xiaoyan's figure and couldn't help roaring. With this commander-in-chief, why worry? Then the king wished Xiaoyan Yaoshe a victory. Let's go. With an order, the Wan Yaowing waved his hand, and a space crack in the size of 10,000 zhong swept out. In that space crack, the scarlet demonic energy rising into the sky, as well as a trace of extremely thin but extremely evil power. At this moment, the army of 50,000 demon beasts in the 10,000 demon nations split into 2 separate paths and left to face the ancient battlefield. And at this moment, the real battle in the demon world has also started completely. In the battle between the strongest under the 3 demon emperors and the 7 demon kings, who is the final winner? Let's wait and see. Oops, I'm off. End of this chapter. Please remember this book's first domain name. Tang San Chinese website mobile version reading website.